Good morning, friends. This is Lee Kersey, the Simple Georgian. Want to say early happy Easter to everybody. May not make a video tomorrow. I was going to try to make a couple, 3 or 4 videos this weekend, but my plans has gotten changed. The load that I had coming up, I had stopped for a break at the state line and hadn't been back on the road probably 25 minutes or so, and started climbing a mountain, and I'm grossing probably 77,000, something like that, total weight. Started climbing a mountain, and of course it was dark, and which that didn't really bother me. I didn't have much time left on my logbook anyway, so I was just trying to get to a place where I could get shut down for the night. And as I was coming up the mountain, I want to stress this enough, or as much as I can. This is the importance of paying attention to your surroundings while driving. During driving school with the cars, back when I first got my driver's license, it was preached to me that you're supposed to keep moving your eyes every 3 to 5 seconds or whatever. You look in your driver's mirror, you look in front of you, you look at your speedometer, you look in your passenger mirror, and then you look in, and you just rotate back and forth. And this is one of the reasons why they preach that. Anyway, as I was coming up the mountain, I was paying attention to my mirrors like I'm supposed to, and as people was passing me, their lights, was showing, looked like what was to be dust coming off the road out from under my truck and trailer. And I didn't think much about it. I just blowed it off as, the road was dirty. But come to find out, it wasn't. It was smoke. At nighttime in the dark, you can't really tell from one way or the other what, unless it's like a really bunch of smoke. So anyway, that started, getting me to pay attention more to the gauges and things of that nature. All the gauges seemed to be running good. Everything seemed to be normal. I knew I had oil in the truck because I had just put some in yesterday morning, so I knew I had plenty of oil in the truck. And this truck, ever since the rebuild, has not been burning but gallon and a half a week, because that's part of your pre-trip. That's part of paying attention to your vehicle. And so anyway, as I was getting up the hill, I got probably 3/4 up the hill, something like that. And like I said, I'm running a little heavy, so I'm, in the 35, 40 mile an hour range. Well, there was a wrecker picking up a bobtail, which, a lot of you may not know. A bobtail is just a tractor part only, no trailer. And he was trying to get back. He had done picked the truck up and was trying to get back on the interstate, so I moved over to let him on. And when I moved over, I started losing power. And there again, this is why you pay attention to your vehicle. You have people out here with music so loud, they got this playing, they got that playing, they jibber jabbering, not paying attention, they just driving. And so anyway, I started losing power, and I'm like, something is not right. And but all my gauges were showing normal. So I got up the hill and topped off and leveled off, and I started going back up through the gears, so I could go on down the road. And I started, when I get to the high side of the gear range, many of you don't know, these trucks, these manual trucks, well, even automatic trucks, the gear range to change the gears is somewhere between 12 to 1500 RPMs. That's your ideal range to change the gears. And so when I get to the high side, I started hearing a tiny bit of rattle in the top of the engine. I'm like, something ain't right. So anyway, I'm like, okay, maybe I can make it to the truck stop, which I wasn't that far from the truck stop. And so I'm like, well, maybe I can make it to the truck stop. Well, as I got on up, I backed off the speed a little bit, so keep that tachometer down. And that way I wouldn't be in that rattle stage. And I was just going to try to limp it in. Well, it got to the point, it was getting bad enough that I'm like, I might not make it. So I went ahead and pulled off the side of the road and jumped out. And the first thing I done was check the oil and, things of that nature like you normally would on a motor. And everything was good. I'm like, okay. So then I started looking around some more. Well, come to find out, oil was coming out from the front end of the engine. And I started walking around the truck, looking at the truck and trailer, and I had oil up underneath the trailer along the rail of the landing gear. And being I wanted to check the oil, I went ahead and shut the engine off so I could get a good level reading on the oil. And so I let the fleet manager know, and got to looking and checking this, checking that, checking the other, and everything was looking good. And I jumped back in the truck to crank it up to see if I could hear the rattle on the idle side, and of course the truck wouldn't fire over. So had to get towed in, and luck would have it, I was only 4 miles from a place that I could have got off safely. So technically I probably should have tried to run it to the truck stop, but I didn't know about this little, well, it's not actual truck stop, it's a little fuel stop. They got room for probably about 8 or 10 trucks. Got a couple of fuel islands, got a Subway, and nice little gas station. I mean, it's not bad, but it's not your first choice. But anyway, I was only 4 miles away, so I had to get towed in. And so they towed me in and unhooked from the trailer. So we got it scheduled for another driver to come pick up the load and finish it up. And I got one of the other drivers in the fleet coming to get me with what we call a toter. All it is another tractor with a hitch on the back on the fifth wheel to hook up to my fifth wheel and drag me back to the yard. And having said that, I was kind of expecting something like this to happen. I just didn't know when, because as I've said in a couple of previous videos about this truck, when it was rebuilt, the rings did not seat properly. So having said that, we wound up getting 45,760 something miles out of it, and now we got to go back in the motor, and hopefully didn't ruin the head or block, is what I'm hoping. But I mean, if it is, it is. There's nothing we can do about it. Because I did some research, and it's not the best thing for a motor when you're running, with rings that didn't seat properly. But that's not my truck. The fleet manager told me to run it. He wasn't concerned about the gallon and a half oil usage consumption. So I ran the truck. And so that's, on him and the company. And this is another reason why I'm at my age. I'll be 53 in August. And at my age, I'm looking more and more into paid for vehicles. And I may make a video about that pretty shortly, if not today, while I'm waiting on this other driver to come get me. But anyway, this is why I like paid for vehicles, because if I had a truck payment, or the company had a truck payment, the truck went down, everybody, people's like, oh, go get a newer truck, get a warranty, da da da. Yeah, that's all well and good, but the warranty does not pay your bills while you're down. You get a paid for vehicle, you build up the money, you put the money up for maintenance. And I know everybody can't work on their vehicles. I understand that. I clearly understand everybody does not have the mental capacity to work on the vehicles. They're not mechanically inclined, and I totally get it. But the ones of us that are, it is better to get a paid for vehicle and just do a little bit of maintenance on it. I was watching a video one time of a guy building a cabin in the woods, and people kept telling him to go borrow the money to finish the cabin and get it done. And he had an old man tell him one time that, if he got the loan would be $600-700 a month for 15, 20 years, 30 years, whatever the case may be. And the man told him, he said, you can buy a lot of lumber for $700 a month and build a house and pay cash for it. And this is stuff that, I'm trying to get back to. And this is part of why I chose the name of the Simple Georgian, because I want to live the simple life. I want my stuff paid for. I want to, I don't want any debt if possible. In fact, I'm trying to totally be out of debt, hopefully by the end of this year or next year, with the exception of the house that I'm going to try to pay for mom and dad. It's cheaper for me to buy their house than it is to go rent and, finish paying their house off. It'd be cheaper for that. And that way, I'd have a place. Because I've lived on the road all my life, all my working life pretty much. So I really haven't needed a place. And, I felt like it was kind of idiotic to buy a place and be gone 3 or 4 months. So, and I wasn't planning on going home until after the Chicago Pipe Show. That was my plan, was to stay out here. But as it turns out, the plan right now is I get hauled into the yard and I get a bus ticket home, and they figure out what's going on with the motor in this truck, see if it can be fixed. If you heard that alarm, that's the inverter. It sounds the alarm when it gets below 12 volts. But anyway, the plan right now is to get a bus ticket home, sit at the house while they figure out what's going on with the motor. They don't have a spare truck. The only spare they have is currently in the shop getting a transmission put in. So the plan is either I come back when that truck gets ready, move my stuff over to that truck, drive that truck, or get back in this one and stay at the house until this one's fixed. It's just according to how deep they're going to have to go with this one. As I said, the rings did not seat, so it may be they have to go back through a whole nother rebuild. I don't know. We'll find that out when we get in the motor. But having said that, this is why, I'm looking at this about having a paid for vehicle, because the money that I'm saving, if I was to buy or lease a vehicle, a newer truck, and this happened, them payments would still be coming out. And the last lease that I was in, I was paying $810 a week. And that was one of the cheaper leases that I found. Plus my, 15 cents a mile maintenance escrow. And so yeah, it's tight, and that was a new truck. It was a 24 truck. It had a warranty. had what they call the platinum warranty, which was put me in a higher priority bracket if I did go to the shop. But having said that, that still does not pay the bills. Now, on the flip side, yes, my bills are not getting paid with this truck being down. But with me going to the house, I have side work lined up that hopefully I can get it all done while I'm home so I can still make money. And, that way I'm not completely out of money the whole time, the whole time or whatever. So that's another thing that I've got working for me. But yeah, it'd be rough to be paying $800-900 a week for a truck payment, and it go down for heck, if the truck went to the shop being under warranty, it could take them up to a month. That'd put me behind $4,000 right off the bat, not counting my bills. And yeah, if you don't have the money ahead, you can go in the hole real fast. I know plenty of owner ops or lease ops or whatever that has lost their business and lost all of their labor and time and effort to get into a truck to have to deal with something like this. There was one guy, he put that I know, he put $20-something thousand down on a truck, got the truck, put it on the road. Wasn't even 4 months later, he had a catastrophic failure. The engine had to be replaced, and it was going to cost, he had a newer model truck, it was going to be like $35,000 to replace the engine, and or to rebuild the engine, whatever the case may be. And he didn't have the money for it, because he had spent all of his money as a down payment and operating to start the truck, So he didn't have the money when the time come to fix the engine. So he was out of business. And I've done that before. I've experienced that before. Not the catastrophic engine failure, but I put all my money in the truck. There was one time I bought a truck. Freightliner had a deal where you take them $1,000 and they'll put you in a truck and you go to work. And fortunately for me, every truck that I got was good trucks. So I managed to, keep them running, and things, very minor stuff happened. But at the same token, I could have been in the same shoes he was, where he put $25,000 down and the engine go out and didn't have the money, to replace the engine. So, but this is where I'm trying to get to where I can have the funds and paid for vehicles to where when something like this does happen, I'm not crying, yeah, it's going to hurt for a couple of weeks. It'll be slow, but I'll make it. Be living off of beanie weenies and hot dogs, but it is what it is. And I'm not telling y'all this for people to feel sorry for me, by no means. I've been in this game 30 years, and this is just part of it. I'm just glad that there's no truck payment involved, and I'm glad that I'll be able to get back to work pretty quick, hopefully, and go on. But having said that, I will have to eventually get out of the trucks, because I'm starting to have a few little issues with my legs again, and I don't know where that's going, but I will keep everybody updated on that, and then go from there. So I am still looking for something else. The accounting thing is still in the back of my head. The challenge there is I've got to appeal a couple of decisions by the school due to having, some past school stuff going on. So I've got to appeal a couple of decisions there, and hopefully that'll get everything straightened out, and I can get to where I can be home more and still be able to travel a little bit when I want to, and not have to, be on the road all the time. But having said that, I'm going to get back to my little story about the pickup I had. I bought the little truck off of Facebook Marketplace, paid cash for it. The only thing that I remember I had to do right off the bat was buy a battery. That was first things first. And if I remember correctly, I had to put a starter solenoid in it. It was a little Mazda B4400 extended cab. And clean little truck. And what happened is I tried to jump start the truck off. And just as soon as I tried to jump start it, the had a bad connection on the starter solenoid, and it sparked and started smoking at the cables. And I snatched the cables off, real quick to keep from burning something up. And I was talking to the guy. He's like, just give me X number of dollars and take the truck out of here. So, because I wasn't sure, that if I had to replace the electronic computer, the control module in the truck or not, due to that, sparking and smoking in the cables or whatnot. So he gave me a price I could live with. I called the tow truck, got it out of there, and took it to a buddy of mine's house that was working on my big trucks at the time, before he retired, and put the battery in it, put the starter solenoid on that day, and he done a few little things, got it started, and I run that truck. Let's see, I run that truck all over Savannah for probably 4 or 5 months, I guess. And then I got a job down in Jessup, Georgia. And I was living in Guyton at the time. And I drove that truck from Ellabelle. I'm sorry. I drove that truck from Ellabelle to Jessup. Well, almost to Odom, which was about an hour and a half one way. I drove that truck every day for 3.5 months from Ellabelle to, like I said, almost to Odom, Georgia, to that job down there. And I drove it back and forth every day, done my work, done everything. And during that process, I found a little camper shell on Marketplace. The color didn't match, but it was a perfect match for the truck. It come off of a Ranger, which the Ford Ranger and the Mazda at that time frame was the same trucks. In fact, my truck was built there in, I think it was Dearborn, Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, at the Ford plant. And so it was basically the same truck, just had the Mazda name on it. And the camper shell wasn't the same color as the truck, but it was a good price. The only thing I had to do was replace the little latches on the back, the little twist handles, and the shocks that held the glass up. And I bought them. I never did put them on, but I had them in the truck. And I run that little truck all over Savannah. Like I said, I drove it back and forth to Jessup for 3.5 months or so. The job ended. I got laid off. Typical construction. And when I got laid off, I taken off and went to North Carolina to a either STEAM school or the July the 4th Thrasher reunion. That's what it was. I went to the Thrasher reunion in July the 4th there in Denton, North Carolina. And if you've never been to Denton, North Carolina to the Thrasher reunion, take the opportunity to go. It's a week-long deal. They have a bunch of old steam engines, boilers, old tractors. Fun time there at the Denton Farm Park. But anyway, I went up there, come back, turned around, and went to Augusta because Augusta Hall was hiring, and put my name on the books up there, checked that job out, checked out a couple of places where I could stay. And on the way back home, a buddy of mine from my home local called me, and he told me, he said, come up to Detroit. He said, we've got work coming out to Yin Yang up here. They're hiring people all the way down in the Book 4. And he told me what the pay was. And he said, if you do come up here, I need you to do me a favor. I'm like, okay, what's that? He said, go by my house. He gave me directions to his house, which is down on the other side of Ludowici. And pick up my motorcycle and bring it up, and my toolbox. He told me which toolbox to get and bring it all up with me. So I booked it over. I took the camper top off, went over to his house, got the motorcycle, his toolbox, got my stuff, taking off to Detroit. It took me about a day and a half to get up there at that time because I wasn't in no great big hurry. I got up there on Thursday night, and of course they had what we call in the Union Brotherhood nights there at a local bar and restaurant. Went there, met a couple of, travelers. Well, when I say a couple of travelers, there must have been, I don't know, 100, 150 of us in that place. Met all of them. Well, not all of them. I met as many as I could. Hung out with my buddy and his guys. And they wound up having a place there in Detroit that we stayed at called Mexican Town. They had rented an apartment upstairs, and there was 5 of us living in that apartment. We just split the rent. And I went up. That was on Thursday. I went to the hall Friday, signed the books, had to do a bunch of tests over the weekend, and was at work Monday morning. Anyway, I finished that job. That job, we got laid off. I got back on the books, was off for 3 or 4 days. I flew home, flew back up, and went right back to work, and just kept rolling. And the only thing I'd done to that truck after I come back from North Carolina was rebuilt the front end, tie rod ends, brakes, shocks, ball joints, tires, stuff like that. And when I took everything off, I just put new stuff back on. And so the back tires was good, and I run that truck, like I said, all over Savannah, all the way down, Jessup for 3.5 months, North Carolina, back up to Detroit. I worked up there in Detroit almost 8 months, and while I was up there, the only thing I'd done to the truck then was I finished the back end. I put shocks, brakes, tires on the back end. I had to put a fuel filler hose on it and fix a couple of wires that had gotten chewed up. The place I was staying there in Mexican Town, we had some mice in the yard, and while I had flew home, they had gotten up under the hood and started chewing on the wire. They didn't chew through them, they just started chewing on them, and we had to get, I just had to cover that up and fix that. It didn't cause me any problem. It just, I was able to catch it before it did cause a problem. And so I fixed that. And I turned around and drove that truck home. I drove that truck, heck, I don't know, 1.5 years or thereabouts. And I got home. I fixed the headliner in it because the headliner was coming down. A buddy of mine back home that I've known pretty much all my life fixed the headliner for me. And I wanted to get into the vans. I wanted a newer model van, a cargo van, because what my plan was, if I was going to stay on the road doing that lifestyle, I wanted to have a place to sleep in the van and carry my tools. So it just seemed obvious to have a cargo van and do that, and that's what I did. I sold that little pickup to a girl that had just come out of high school, used that money to put down on a cargo van, and I fixed it up to where I could stay in it and have my tools, and it worked out great. But yeah, the purpose of this video, I know I've been rambling, but the purpose of this video was to let y'all know that the object of the game of life that I feel and what I'm trying to get back to as a simple Georgian is to be out of debt, have paid for vehicles. I have the working knowledge to work on them, the mechanical knowledge. I mean, yeah, I'm not a full-blown mechanic, but I can figure stuff out. And things like that, to where I don't have payments, don't have, to worry about having the stress of having a payment. I was listening to a guy the other day that had a lease truck, a new truck with another company, and his truck payment and maintenance alone was over $6,000 a month. Just the truck payment and maintenance escrow. So there you go. You know, $6,000 a month and you don't have any work coming in, that's a chunk of money. But anyway, I'm at 30 minutes and I'm going to let y'all go. Appreciate y'all watching. Appreciate y'all subscribing. And thank y'all. And we hope y'all have a good day. Happy Easter.